All right, welcome to another beautiful day out here on the ranch. This is my water supply at the moment. Right now, I haul a 55-gallon drum of water whenever I come out here with me, and at the moment, it is currently filling via gravity the tank in the trailer, which lets me do nice things, some of the luxuries in life, like showering. So bring that out, but I always have some left. I don't actually use more than 20 to 30 gallons while I'm out here. So I always have somewhere between 20 to 30 gallons left in that tank. So what we're gonna do today, we're gonna fill the trailer, and then we're gonna fill this one. I got another one. These barrels, I buy them used. This one was previously used for wine. That one was previously used for artificial coconut flavor. So either way, they're food grade. That doesn't matter for our purpose today, but it does for this because I like to have it be drinkable water when I bring it out here. But in either case, we're gonna take whatever's left in that tank and put it in this tank, and we're gonna put this out in the field next to some things that we're gonna plant, because we wanna make sure that stuff gets watered over the course of this week when I'm not out here, etc. So to do that, once we're done transferring and the trailer's full, we'll transfer to this. But first, this cap, which is probably not the easiest thing to see, but this cap here has a punch out in it that you can put a 3/4 inch threaded fitting into. So we're going to do the same thing like we have on this one, where we've got a fitting here with a valve. We're going to do the same thing to this. We'll have a fitting come out with a valve and then be able to hook a garden hose to it, and that way we can use it for irrigation. So let's get started putting our fittings together. All right, so the first thing, here we have our fittings. This one's nice and purple because the primer, otherwise known as cleaner, managed to spill in the bag with the fitting and spilled all over the fitting. Won't matter for what we're doing. Again, just happens to be pre-primed. But what we're gonna do, this is the fitting that's gonna go into the cap. Then we're gonna have our valve. Then we're gonna have a fitting that turns into a regular threaded fitting, and that threaded fitting fits on this guy, which turns it into a garden hose thread. Now, that's just because at the store at the time, the only garden hose thread I could get was brass, so that's what I'm using here. Now, before we can do that though, we got to get some pieces of pipe to go in between those two spots, so we're just going to cut this. And it doesn't really matter how long they are, as long as they're long enough to go through both sides. So, about there. Be easier if this barrel wasn't bouncing. There's our first one, and we need one more. Let's keep those on there. And we'll clean these up. We got our little deburring tool here we'll clean these up with. Not bad. Not bad at all. I highly recommend these if you're ever doing work with PVC pipe. 2 pieces of pipe. Don't need these anymore. And let's see, we got our primer and our cement. Cement's a little old. Again, doesn't matter for this project, that'll be fine. So we're gonna start with this side. Yes, I know it got primed, but it was dry and it never really got primed well in the middle, so we'll just do that. And we'll get one side of our piece of pipe here. I'm gonna get a paper towel. See if I can do this without my fingers becoming all purple like they usually do. All right, so there's our primer. Let's get this cemented. Again, as you can see, my cement is a little bit old, but it'll do the job. There we go. One side in. Now the other side is going to be our valve, so we'll do the same thing there. Prime that up on the inside. And we'll prime up again the outside of our piece of pipe. So the reason to use a primer is that it's also a solvent and it helps soften up the PVC to make it better or more easily receive the cement. So that's the other reason to do it. Technically, because this isn't going to be used for potable water or something like that, like code wouldn't require it or anything, but just makes everything go together and stay together easily. All right, so there's our first half. Let's do our second half over here. Again, prime up our piece of pipe. Prime up the inside surface of our valve. I want to just have that be dry-ish. Throw some cement on there. Throw some cement on there. Yeah, there's a little bit too much of a glob there. Don't really like that glob. Stick that in. That's another thing. If you ever put PVC pipe together dry, you'll note that you have to like press it and press it and press it. Once you put solvent and cement on it, it goes together real easily. So for our last piece of this, again, primer it up. Primer up the inside of this piece. Have that be nice and dry. Yeah, the cement is definitely on its last. This is going to be the last time I use this stuff. It's been probably about, I don't know, close to, yeah, probably close to 6 months since the last time I used this cement. So, yeah, what am I saying, 6? More like 9. So that cement's kind of old. There we go. Push that on. And there we go. There's our fitting. Now, we just need to put all of our threaded stuff in, and for that, I need to grab my Teflon tape. You don't have to use Teflon tape, and in this case, it's not a big deal because this is not going to be at pressure or anything like that. But I like to Teflon tape wrap them just because I guess I like to be thorough. So we'll just put a few wraps of Teflon tape on here. Especially on this side, because This side, there's a limit to how much we're going to want to force it in because of the fact that it's metal to plastic. We don't want to split the plastic by forcing this thing too far. The brass is quite a bit stronger. But again, this doesn't need to be incredibly tight. This is not going to have pressure on it or anything like that. So I'll get a wrench in a minute. I'm just going to give the glue another few seconds to dry here. We'll put some tape on the other end of this lovely, incredibly purple adapter here. Yes, I know, grabbing it by the valve and turning it is not the world's greatest idea. Thanks, I'm aware. There, that's good enough. I don't need it to be incredibly tight. We're just going to grab a wrench, put a couple turns on that. Just for the sake of being thorough, we'll put a few turns on this guy. I'm not, again, not that really worried about it because it's not going to have pressure on it or anything. So, but that's it. There's our fitting. We got our valve, right? Simple PVC ball valve. We got our fitting that'll get us down to garden hose, and we're good to go. So to get water into this thing, we've filled our trailer, so we're done. So all the water that's left in there is excess, and it's about half full still. So we should be able to fill this thing about halfway. We're going to use this. This is called a bung cap wrench. Yes, this cap is called a bung cap. Make the jokes. Yes, I know. In either case, you can buy these wrenches on Amazon. They're easy to get, but really necessary because it's just a very funny cap. So stick that in there. See if we can get that cap open. There we go. All right. As you can see, I've held this in place with boots. Nice and easy. So, to fill it, we'll just stick the end of our garden hose in there. And turn the valve on. And there, my friends, is the wonderful sound of water. You can see it there, pouring into the drum. So that's it. Now the waiting game. Now we go do something else, actually, while it fills. All right, so the first thing we're going to plant out here, ever, actually, it's going to end up being it's actually a squash plant. And I'm told that they're fairly hardy. We'll find out. But what we're going to do, we're going to put it right here. As you can see, it's already in the shade, so it'll get like morning and very early afternoon sun, and then shade in the evening when it's really hot. So, and we may not leave it here forever. We'll see what happens. But it's also right near an outlet from the gutter, so it'll get a whole bunch of rainwater coming off the top. So should stay kind of moist-ish over here, and we're going to set up that barrel that we were playing with a little bit earlier to water it. But first, bring the tractor in. We're going to try to scrape it, see if we can't get rid of a bunch of this junk around it so that that stuff doesn't overcrowd it. And we'll probably scrape it, bring some other dirt in. We'll see what happens. All right, so we scraped off the first 4 to 6 inches or so. Replaced it with dirt that doesn't really have much in the way of junk in it. I mean, nothing's perfect, but at least it's nice and worked up dirt. We'll get the shovel out here, make a small hole, put our squash in, and then we'll set up watering. So lots of fun. All right, so we've got our temporary water barrel, we got our output, and we have our hose hookup with a little sprinkler bubbler thing on the end. So we're just gonna stick this in here, nothing special. We're actually gonna wrap it up a little bit because I think I brought way too much in the way of tubing here. And hook this on. And open that up, and we're going to hope that gravity does its job. And oh, there we go. We got some water coming out. Now the goal is to have just enough coming out so that this is probably about 25 gallons in here right now. The goal is to just have it dripping so that we can just barely have anything coming out so that it keeps going for quite a while. That should do it. All right, the other thing we're going to do is loosen this up so that air can get back into this thing. And we don't need to take it off. We just want to have it loose. Just enough so air can get back in there, and preferably no bugs. And that's it. This is our temporary water solution for getting this plant started. We'll see how it works. You know, obviously my confidence in my green thumb is not all that great, but we'll see. When we come back next week, we'll see if there's still any water left in, and we'll see how this plant's taking. So anyway, it's enough fun for a day. Back to fencing.